Hello, welcome to our Beyond the Shelf Tween book discussion. Today we are talking about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This week we were assigned chapters 7 through 12 of the book. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about what we've read, pose some questions, and then do a couple of fun activities here. So chapter 7 started with the sorting hat. So we see Harry and all of the first year students at Hogwarts. They have arrived and they are awaiting the sorting hat to see what house they are in. So in this chapter we get introduced to exactly what the different houses represent. In the chapter we see the sorting hat. He actually does a little song / poem that tells us the qualities of each house. And this is really the basis of the houses throughout the books, the qualities that they possess. So we see that Gryffindor is really portrayed as brave, and so that gives us insight to all of those who are sorted into Gryffindor. So even some characters that might not seem brave right now, there must be some sort of quality that really shows that they are going to show some bravery in the story. So that's some foreshadowing there for what's to come. So I love hearing about the houses in Harry Potter. I think it's fun to see which house that you are selected in. There are a lot of online tests you can take to see which house. The Pottermore one is sort of the official Harry Potter quiz. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and go to Pottermore and see what house you're sorted into. You have lots of theme things that you can decorate your different pages after you make an account. There's also lots of fun activities on Pottermore, and now there has opened the Harry Potter at Home series, and so there's even more activities and resources there that you can explore the whole world of Harry Potter and learn more about Hogwarts. So in chapter 7, we also know that Harry is very concerned about which house he's going to be sorted into. So we know from earlier in the book that Harry doesn't know much about magic. He's born and in the magical world, but before he really is able to comprehend what that means, he is taken out of that situation and taken into the Muggle world. So that is just the everyday world that we live in. So he doesn't know a lot of the magical terms. So he's nervous because he doesn't know what this means for him. He is still scared that maybe he is going to get removed because he might have been picked and they didn't realize he wasn't as magical as they had hoped he was. So he's still really nervous. So we see in this chapter that he's not the only one that feels this way. Even those young first years who have grown up with witches and wizards as parents are still nervous about exactly what house they're going to get in at Hogwarts. So then we move on to chapter 8, and chapter 8 is entitled The Potion Master. So here we get to learn a little bit more about Professor Snape. And so we can already tell he's going to be a major character. And for some reason, he seems to dislike Harry. And so I'm interested to see why you think that maybe Snape doesn't like Harry. Is it because he is the head of Slytherin House and they're rivals with Gryffindor, which Harry gets sorted into? Or do you think it's something more? If it's your first time reading this book series, I would really like to hear what you think. And of course, if you have finished the series, you know more about background about Snape, so you might get a little bit more insight on what he is feeling towards Harry at the start of the book. So it's fun when you reread the first one after you've read the series to kind of look back on those first interactions with Harry and exactly what feelings he is showing through in the way he treats Harry. So go ahead and let us know what you think. Comment on this, or you can always join the book club, which is a group started here on the Pemiscot County 4-H page. You just find it, join that group, and we can have a more in-depth conversation. Okay, chapter 9, we move into the Midnight Duel. So this is the conflict between Draco and Harry. And we know here that Draco's really keen on getting Harry in trouble. So he lures him out of the dorm at night and said he's going to duel, but he doesn't show. And we learn that the whole intention of that was to get Harry in trouble. But we also see some dynamics with Harry's friend group kind of changing. So we know that Neville has kind of joined in on this mission because he was locked out of the dorm after he got hurt falling off of his broom. And we know that Hermione, again, it doesn't want to break rules, and she doesn't want anybody else to break rules. So she is trying to prevent Harry and Ron from getting in trouble and from losing their house's points. So it's fun to see how those interactions are as well, because they start to change in the next few chapters. So we know that Ron and Harry really seem to dislike Hermione. She's sort of a know-it-all, and which is great to have a lot of information and to work hard and study, but she seems to be impeding on their fun. She kind of wants everybody else to follow her rules and to care as much as she does, which isn't the case for Harry and Ron. So in turn, they kind of don't like her. They think she's annoying, and they would just rather not be around her. But then, when Halloween comes along, we start to see that changing. And so that's chapter 10 is Halloween, and that's when the troll comes into the castle. And this is really the whole dynamic of Harry, Ron, and Hermione changes, because now you can start seeing, even before they go to the girls' bathroom and find Hermione, that they feel bad. They've hurt her feelings in the story. You can see that they're starting to rethink things. They know that even if she bothers them, they shouldn't be mean to her. So they already feel bad, and then when they know she's in trouble, they go to find her to make sure that she's not alone. And they essentially save her from this troll, and it changes the dynamic of the friendship, because now they've gone through this amazing experience together, and it was something that could have been very traumatic, but it really bonded them. And so the chapter closes, and it has a phrase that says that there's just some experiences you can't go through without becoming friends. And so what do you think about that? Do you think that friendship is based on your experiences oftentimes, or do you think it's more about commonality? Because Harry and Hermione right now aren't that common, but they do have these shared experiences. So that's fun to look back and to think about, especially when you're my age, a little bit older, and you think back to your childhood friends. So oftentimes those friends, stay in your heart and your mind, as you're growing up, even if you drift apart, because you have so many shared memories when you're younger that it's kind of hard not to stay friends, to think on them fondly. So that's a fun little part of chapter 10. Then we move into chapter 11, and we're introduced into Quidditch. So I always find this interesting because Harry is playing on the house team, and he got this opportunity basically from breaking the rules. So I would be interested to know if you've ever seen that at school, somebody who flat out broke the rules, and instead of getting punished like we thought, they actually got the opposite. They actually got rewarded for something. So comment on that if you have some ideas or some experiences that you've had. And then we end chapter 12 with a more serious chapter. So this is when Harry finds this mirror in this abandoned room. And so it's intriguing because this is another magical element that, we're not used to mirrors that don't show anything except our reflection. So now we see this mirror, and it's called the Mirror of Erised. And that essentially means the mirror of desire. So when you look in the mirror, you see your desires, your heart desires. And we know that Dumbledore has witnessed Harry coming in and looking, and so he gives him some advice about not losing ourselves. He said that, some people that look into the mirror, they kind of waste away because they're thinking, is this going to happen? What if? And in doing that, they stop living their life. They stop working for their goals because they've seen this image of what it can be. So we know that Dumbledore really cautions us on that. He doesn't want that to happen to us and to Harry in the story. So a lot has happened in the book. We get a little bit of a sneak peek into things that are going to happen. So we think there is going to be some more conflict with Snape and Harry. We also know that there is something hidden in the castle, and we keep getting clues about this. We know it's a small package, and now we know it's being guarded in this room by a three-headed dog, and who happens to be named Fluffy. So that's another interesting thing, because J.K. Rowling uses names in a really fun way in her book. Like the herbology instructor is Professor Sprout. Sprout is a term that we think about when we think of plants, so it matches up with what she does as a profession. But in the instance of Fluffy's sort of the opposite of what that dog seems to be. It seems to be a very fierce dog, so the way she used Fluffy in that is also fun. So look and write down some of the names as you're reading to see what you think they mean, if the name of the person has anything to tell about their personality traits. And it also helps you just log who is in a story, because in the Harry Potter universe we have lots and lots of characters, and sometimes it's easy to lose track of those. So go ahead and jot some down. You can put beside it a couple of descriptive words about it, maybe what they do, what house they're in, things like that, so you can reference that later on. Okay, so our next chapters that we're going to read are chapter 13 through the end of the book. So there's only about 100 pages left, and hopefully you're reading these quickly and you're intrigued with the story. Also, if you're listening to that Audible version, it is really fun. It's actually read with a British accent, and so that's fun to hear, because this story is set in England, and so it's really neat to hear those descriptive voices when you hear the book being read. But today we are going to move on to our activity. And since it started off our reading this week with all about the Sorting Hat, I thought it would be fun to show our house pride by making a fun bookmark with our house colors. So I have an example of what we're going to do here. And I've made Hufflepuff because I am a proud Hufflepuff. And so I've used here the gold and black for my bookmark. But you can use any kind of color you want. If you want to do house colors, again, Gryffindor is represented by a sort of a maroon burgundy and gold. We have Slytherin, which is green and like a gray silver. Then we have Ravenclaw, which is blue and tan. And then Hufflepuff, which is gold and black. So go ahead, and for this you're going to need some cardstock in different colors. So if you're doing Ravenclaw, you can get their colors. I think today I might make a Slytherin one. So I have some green and some silvery gray paper. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to take the long side of your paper and you're going to cut just equal strips. So I did mine a ½ inch thick, and I made sure they were all the same. So I measured that out with a ruler. So you're going to need a ruler for this. Or if you happen to have a paper cutter, you can use that to cut to make sure these are all equal. But you need 2 of your primary color and then 2 strips of your secondary color. For me, I'm going to use green and gray. Then you're also going to need a glue stick. And that's all you need for this first bookmark. So I'm going to switch the camera here so you can see a little bit of what I'm doing here on the table. And you can follow along. So to start, I'm going to start with my primary color. So for Slytherin, that's green. What I'm going to do is take one end, and I'm going to put just a little bit of glue right here on the end of my strip. I'm going to take my other green, and I'm going to line it up so you make a corner there. So just like that. Then you're going to take your gray. You're going to put a little bit of glue here on the end of your gray piece. And then you're going to line up your gray right next to your green piece. So they're side by side and they're glued right here at the top. Again, you're taking your next gray and then you line it up right here next to this side. So you have a green and a gray piece on each of your two sides here, lined up right next to each other. So this is going to be the start of your bookmark, and these are often called braided bookmarks. You might have made these before, but what we're going to do is now we're going to take the piece that's on the outside and we're going to fold it down to the other side, just across. So I put a little bit of glue on here. You don't have to put the glue, it will still stay together, but this makes it a little sturdier. So I add glue every time I do a fold. And you want to make sure you're folding and making it right next to our piece there and push it down. And I'm going to take my glue. And on the outside of the other side is my green piece. So I'm going to take it and fold it down to the other side, just like before. Now, the piece I have on the outside is my gray piece. So the gray is what I'm going to do for my next one. And again, I'm just going to fold it down. And you just keep working until your paper has run out. When it's not long enough to fold any longer, that's when you can go ahead and finish, or if you decide you want it to be shorter. Now, maybe you don't want to make a bookmark. Maybe you want to make something that uses a smaller one. You can do that too. So I'm going to show you. When you come to the end, you'll just have little bitty pieces. And so what you do is you just want to secure it really well with some glue. And then you're going to cut off these extra pieces. So you cut it so each end is pointy. So I'm going to show you again an example of my Hufflepuff one. So we started down here where we have our two pieces, and then we ended here. So you see I just cut it off right here at the end. Now if you want to add some embellishment, and maybe you want to add your house crest, you can find that online, you can print it off. You could cut out an initial, put your initial there to really personalize this bookmark. So this is our first bookmark, which is our house color. And now we're going to make a second bookmark. So our second bookmark is called a corner bookmark. And I'm going to make mine look like an owl. So it's sort of themed as Harry Potter. And this one is really easy, and it also is very adaptable. So again, I'm going to change the camera so we can start on our corner bookmark. For this, all you need is a plain piece of paper. I'm going to use white because I want my owl to be white, but you can use any color you would like. And first we need to make a square out of this piece of paper. So I'm going to take one corner and go to the other side. And I'm going to make sure that my paper lines up from the tip all the way to where I'm folding it over. And that helps to make a square. So now I have this extra paper that I want to cut off. So just take your scissors and cut off that extra strip of paper. Now I went ahead and saved this extra strip because I used it for the owl's eyes and for other things. I love to save all my scraps and recycle those if I can. So now we have a square that is already folded nicely in half for us, and it makes a triangle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take one corner of the triangle and we're going to fold it up to the top of our piece right there. So it goes to the very top. And then we're going to take this other corner and do the same thing. We're going to fold it up to the top here. So now when you look at your piece, you have a smaller square. So I'm going to unfold it, but we still have our nice creases here. Now we're going to take our top point and we're going to separate our layers, because I just want the top layer of this point, and I'm going to bring that down to the bottom of my paper here, just like that, and I'm going to crease it. So now it's folded on the front. Now these corner pieces are already pre-folded for us, so this makes the next part really easy. You're going to take one of these up and you're going to fold it inside of that fold that we did down. So it's almost like putting it in the pocket here of our fold. And then we're just going to do a nice crease. And then we're going to take the other one. We're going to fold and then fold this inside that pocket. And then give it a nice crease. So right there, we are already finished with our corner bookmark. So if we wanted to put that on our book, I have my book here, and I'm just going to put it on the corner of the page that you're on, and it just marks it really nicely. So if you want to finish here, you can, but if you want to personalize it, this is when you can use scraps of paper. So I have some black I can cut out for my eye, put some white on there, make wings. If I want to make a beak, I could use some yellow or gold paper for that. And you can put those pieces on to make your owl. So very simple. I just used 3 different sizes of circles here for the eyes, a triangle for the nose, and my wings here are half circles. And I just glued that on the inside. So then when it's shut, it looks like a cool little owl. But again, you can make this anything you want, any animal that you really like. You could just decorate it. So I would love to see what you guys do with your bookmarks, how you decorate them, how you make them your own, and post those pictures in our Facebook group, our Beyond the Shelf Book Club group, and maybe you'll give ideas to other people so they can also do a similar bookmark. But I hope that you continue reading your book. Let us know what you think and share this idea with others. Again, you always need extra bookmarks. So make a few, give them away, have them handy for whenever you start your next read. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next Thursday when we discuss the end of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So thank you so much, and see you soon. Bye-bye.